This episode will consist of topics around domestic abuse, domestic violence and sexual violence. If you require any support or help, please get in contact with your local domestic abuse, sexual violence organisation. In the UK, you can call the National Domestic Helpline on 0808 2000 247. And if you are listening overseas, please contact your national helpline where support, advice and guidance will be available for you. Hello everyone, and thank you for dropping in and listening to this episode. This episode is just going to be really quick because it's going to be dropped halfway through the 16 days of activism against gender-based violence. The campaign started on the 25th of November and ends on the 10th of December, which coincides with Human Rights Day. Ending violence against women and girls is possible for everybody. We need everybody on board, but only if we act together. In every country and every culture, there is more action that is needed to ensure that women and girls are safe, that they are living free of violence and coercion. I've just spent 2.5 years working in a hospital, highlighting domestic violence and sexual violence for the patients that are coming in. And what I know and what I have tried to educate my health colleagues on is that health has a massive physical, emotional, psychological and mental health impact on a human being, which can have a huge, long-lasting impact. I think that we need to bring the attention to highlight and respond to violence against women and girls as a public health, gender equality and a human rights issue. Gender-based violence is a global public health issue. It remains, even in 2023, it affects 1 in 3 women globally, risks that will increase the violence against women and girls. Well, we're seeing one of those just playing out right now across our TV screens is with what's happening over in the Middle East. During humanitarian crises and wars, women and children will face greater risks of violence. They will have their human rights taken away, which can include education, healthcare, not being able to move freely. Violence will affect women everywhere. It doesn't matter what age or what class or what race that you may be. Anybody can experience violence, but women and girls in certain demographics, for example, those that have a disability, adolescent girls, older women, often face greater difficulty to having their voices heard and accessing support. People responding to violence, and still this is something that I battle on a daily basis and have to challenge on a daily basis, is victim blaming. Oh, it can't be that bad, she didn't leave. Why is she only reporting years after? All of that is victim blaming. It brings about shame for the victim. It doesn't matter what the victim wore or what they did, does not give another human the right to take somebody's life. I'm going for a run. I am not thinking of anything but I need to finish this run. I have the right to run without having the risk being caught on my run by a perpetrator who wants to commit violence, wants to rape me or wants to kill me. I should have the right to run early morning or early evening when it's dark safely. I have the right to go to school without the risk of being stabbed and killed on my way to school. When we victim blame, we are putting the responsibility of the abuse and harm on that person. Like, what? What? Why? I'm going for a run. I'm going for a run. I'm not in a situation where I may be more vulnerable. I'm not drinking alcohol. I'm definitely not wearing what most or some would perceive as skimpy clothing. I'm wearing running gear. I'm sweating. I'm all over the place. And so please, somebody explain to me how and what I did in that to warrant being raped and murdered. And there is a deliberate pause there because I need that to drop. And we all do it. So there's no judgment. We all do it. We can all quickly go to the assumption of, well, I wouldn't have done that. I wouldn't have done that. And I think part of that reason is to do with fear. Women on a daily basis, and when I say daily, I mean daily, women will constantly be thinking about their safety. So if somebody has to take public transport to and from work, the week is horrendous time because I'm now having to think, right, I can't go down that alleyway, or I can't go this route, or I can't go that route, for the fear of, actually it's quiet, there's going to be nobody else around. So I'm going to have to stick to public roads, which often tend to be the longer roads. I could just cut through my park, but I'm not going to cut through my park because actually 2 weeks ago, somebody was found in those woods. A woman was found in those woods where she had been subjected to violence and her body was left decomposing in the woods. But going through the park is going to be the quickest route for me. But now I've got to add on more time because actually I can't go that route because it's unsafe. Or I'm out with my mates and it's 11 o'clock and my mates are all going in one direction, I'm going in another. How am I going to get home? Actually, I can't even trust a taxi firm these days. Right, so I'm going to walk home. I'm going to have my keys in my hand. I've got my phone that's got like a silent alarm on it. So if I need it, I'm having to think of my own safety. Why should I have to think of my own safety? Actually, we should be living in a world where actually I don't need to be thinking about my safety because I'm not going to get raped or murdered. See what I'm saying? So putting the blame and shaming that victim will prevent that victim speaking about their experiences. There is nothing really that you could say to me or even challenge me with to justify violence of both genders. And I think the minute that you have to shout, the minute that you have to lay your hands, you're going into a different dimension of control, power, abuse. No, you do not need to and have to be abusive to another human being, like ever. Part of the reason why it is underreported and why people still feel ashamed is because there is an assumption that it's private, it happens behind closed doors, it's not my business, I'm not going to get involved. It is your business. Yes, don't put yourself in a position of harm where you have to intervene, but you can call the police. You can reach out when it's safe to reach out and go, hey, are you okay? And the more that we expose abuse for what it is, the more that we can take that shame away, that actually we can put that into the light, that it's not behind closed doors. Because actually, if I'm going to hear you screaming and shouting and being abusive and smashing things as a human being, I don't want to see another human being get harmed. So I'm going to call the police on that. Or I'm going to intervene in some way if it's safe for me to do so. We need to change the story. We need to put the onus of the responsibility of the abuse back on the perpetrator. We need to constantly challenge when we see it in our workplaces, on social media, in headlines. We need to challenge the misogyny and the misogynistic headlines that we see, especially on social media.
Big companies, big media outlets don't like to be tagged into negative stories. So actually, if you're calling out the Guardian, the Daily Mail, whatever it may be, about their sexist, misogynistic language when we're talking about victims and where there is violence against that victim, then we start getting the message across society that there's something quite wrong with that. And we need to be making sure that women's voices are heard. Women and girls everywhere, in every part of the land and in every part of the globe, should be able to access help and support when they need it. And if they can do that, then maybe that may be a good way of trying to end the violence once and for all. Coming from the hospital perspective, health workers are often the first and sometimes only point of contact for women that are experiencing violence. Healthcare can provide compassionate care, be empathetic for those survivors, offering an ear, risk assessing, providing a medical examination, providing treatment, and doing referrals to the appropriate agency. The hospital that I've just come from, they invested quite heavily into the program of being able to offer support to victims of sexual and physical violence. Help can come in many forms, and we can all play a role in preventing violence against women and girls. If you're experiencing violence, please, you are not alone. It is not your fault, despite what anyone has said to you. It is not your fault. I'm going to say it again and say it louder for the people in the back of the room. The abuse is not your fault. The abuse is a choice that has been made by the perpetrator, who could choose not to do that. This is not about something you did or said or acted. It is not your fault. It may be helpful for you, if it's safe to do so, to reach out to somebody that you trust. It could be a family member, it could be a friend, it could be a neighbour, it could be a complete stranger, it could be a support system, it could be refuge, it could be women's aid, it could be your local SARC. There is support out there. You go to a GP, seek support from a helpline or a specialist service. You are not alone. If you're concerned about somebody that's experiencing violence, as a friend, you've probably had 15, 20, 30, 50 conversations that have all been pretty much along the same line. Keep in touch. Drop a text. Let that person know that you're thinking about them. Make sure that it's safe for them to be in touch with you. Maybe that actually, there are, I don't want to give too much emphasis on what can be done. If you want support with that, reach out, because I don't want to make it more risky for people. But there is support and advice for you. They might not be ready to talk, but validating, reasserting the message that the what they're experiencing is not healthy. And it may be really hard for somebody to go from that place of denial to admit that their relationship is abusive. They might not even know that it's abusive. So as a person that they're reaching out to, we need to be calling out what is and what is not a behaviour. People can report to the police or they cannot report to the police. Just because somebody hasn't reported to the police doesn't mean what they're experiencing is any less. There may be genuine reasons. It could be that their perpetrator is a police officer. It could be that they felt that they've let down by the police. It could be that actually they're very scared of repercussions. So just because somebody's not reporting to the police doesn't mean that you just give up and go, oh, well, they don't want any support. They don't want any help. And health, for my health colleagues, especially those that were in the hospital that I worked in, remember that you may be that first contact. It may be the first encounter that somebody has had. So listen, be empathetic, Listen without judgment. Don't try and jump in with all of the answers. Inquire about people's needs and concerns. You might have to ask a question if somebody's coming in and they've got some gastro issues. You might have to ask them a question and go, hey, is everything at home? You might just have to do that. Validate people's experiences. Show that you believe what they are saying and that you understand what they are saying. Provide information that is going to enhance their safety, and give them the information about reaching out to other organisations. So that is just a quick, well, I said quick, it's still 15 minutes or so. So I just wanted to just drop this halfway through the campaign. Get involved in the campaigns. If there are things that you're seeing on your social media, share it. In my opinion, you can't overshare. Share anything specifically that highlights the plight of violence against women and girls. And let's get the message out there to say, no, this is not okay. And you've just listened to this week's episode. I hope that you've enjoyed the conversation this week. Feel free to like, share, subscribe so you don't miss out. And I'll see you next time.